Hi, everybody. We're now going to be going on in chapter 10. We started it yesterday in Ma'amar Hechaltzu, and it's dealing with an extremely profound issue. And of course, the irony is his very first sentence, and that is that the plague of hating people for no reason particularly strikes those who are people who serve Hashem, those people who are spiritual religious people. The plague of hating people for no reason is particularly severe. That's wow. What a perversion that those of us who are trying hard to develop a relationship with God that are particularly challenged by this idea of not hating people baselessly. Okay, so we saw yesterday was that the Rebbe Rashab explained that the inability to love another person and to feel that deep respect and acceptance for another person is a catastrophe, a particular catastrophe for those who are trying to grow in their service of Hashem. Now, there are perhaps two ways of categorizing the areas of what it means to serve Hashem. So one of them is to be involved in Torah, Esek, HaTorah, being involved in Torah. And the other one is Avodah, right? So Torah is learning Torah. Yeah. And Avodah is the davening and mitzvot service. Whoa, that was good. Did you say that? Yeah. Oh, that's what it means. I forgot. Right. Yeah, because people always say, that if you see a soldier, thank you for your service. It's like, I forgot. Oh, yeah, avodah, that's service, right? Yeah. So the learning of Torah, so it's the growth, the intellectual growth, understanding more, fulfilling mitzvah of Esek Torah, and then serving Hashem through all the myriad of opportunities we have to do mitzvot in the course of the day. So we saw yesterday was the image that we found in a pasuk in Mishlei in Proverbs that, as Moriah put it, when you want to sharpen two knives, how do you do it? You take these two knives and you I don't really know how to do it, but yeah, good chef, you see them, right? Sharpening these knives. So when you have blades of iron and you or steel, whatever it is, and you they scrape up against each other, it sharpens them. And this, in fact, is the only way a person can learn Torah properly. So you have a knife by itself, you can't sharpen a knife. We're going to take this knife, I'm going to move it through the air, right? That's what happens if a person tries to grow spiritually by themselves. It's like a knife trying to sharpen itself in a vacuum. It doesn't work. In order to grow in Torah, you have to have people to interact with it. I've had this happen so many times personally because, say if I prepare a shiur, so I sit there and, I'm trying to prepare a shiur and it just takes one question from somebody to, oh, I didn't think of that. As a matter of fact, there's, I heard a story. This is not anecdotal, as they say. In other words, it's a real story. Rabbi Soloveitchik, who was a master teacher, of course, and a master Torah scholar. So I heard a story one time he came in with a wad full of notes that he had made for himself, this whole conceptual structure he made of the Gemara. And he sat down and with his 20 pages that he'd written out of this whole structure he had built, this whole conceptual structure, trying to explain this particular Gemara, and he starts to begin the class, and someone raised their hand. Rebbe, what about? That's some question. And the Rebbe Soloveitchik put his head down. Utter silence. Everybody's just
on edge.
Lifts up his head, takes his notes, rips them up.
No, gosh.
Says, Rabbi Isai, we'll reconvene tomorrow. That was a good question. I wish I would have prepared my shiur with you. That's it. You can't learn Torah in a vacuum without the give and take, without the bouncing off of ideas with another person. It just doesn't work because we don't notice things. We make mistakes. And of course, we always think we're brilliant. So you come up with an idea, you say it to yourself in the mirror. Man, what a great idea. You are so brilliant. You're talking to yourself, right? So until someone asks you a good question, and then it's all over. So but there's a requisite for this type of interaction to take place. By the way, what do we call that in traditional circles when you have someone to learn with? What's that person called? Your chavrusa. It comes from the word chaver, someone that you're linked to. Lechaber means to be linked to, right? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to say something which I'm sure is complete and utter nonsense. So we talked about yesterday. Thank you.
Okay.
So we talked about how perhaps that the word for echad, right, oneness, can be actually boiled down to 2 letters, aleph chet. Now I'm going to go even further. I'm going to say it really boils down to 1 letter, the chet.
Oh, the chet? Not the olive?
Well, whatever. For the purpose of my utter nonsense, I got to say the chet.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
No.
Because chevruta begins with a chet. Right, to be able to link with another person, that's that letter. And of course, it makes sense in a certain sense because it's the number 8. Because ultimately, the real source of oneness is the going beyond the natural and supernatural. So oneness is sort of an implication of that, like to be gone, to connect to God. So 8 is really the idea of transcending. In any case, chavruta, the idea of linking with another person. The only way you can have a chavruta is if there is a respect and an acceptance and an honoring of that person. Because if your chavruta is somebody who in your mind you're really thinking, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. Right? So how you're not gonna be able to accept anything that they say. It's not gonna be 2 knives sharpening each other. There's a person that is sitting across from you, you're pretending like you're learning with them, but that person is just really just 1 knife sharpening itself because you don't honor what that person says, because you don't really feel that acceptance of that person and that love of that person. So the involvement of Torah requires that there be this ahava, that there be a love for another person. Okay, so let's now go back into the text. The English is over there. I even made some Hebrew copies, but they're kind of defective Hebrew copies, but whatever. Okay, so we're
2 pages.
It's 2 pages. So now we're on the Hebrew on page Tet Vav, and this is in chapter 10, and it's just about a third of the way through the text. Okay, so and it's 4 lines down from the top of the page. Ukmochen, after the period. It's an abbreviation. Remember we said that when we try to be a good Jew, so there are 2 areas, Torah and avoda. So the learning of Torah and then service, as Larry reminded me that word means. So we talked about how Torah, to progress in Torah, requires that we love each other, and also avodah, to serve Hashem. Service also requires we love each other. Now he's going to come up with a model that, man, I've never seen this done in a shul, but this would be massively amazing if somehow people could overcome all of their hang-ups and make this happen. Listen to what he says. Okay. If we would get together and we truly loved each other and accepted each other, respected each other, and honored each other, then what would we do? We would get together. We would reveal all of the defects of our hearts, each one to another, and speak about them. Speak about them. Sheyesh bazeh kama pirtei hatov, that many incredibly beneficial things would come from this if we could sit together and be honest, right? Not have to put on a facade and a pretense and hostility, and I don't really trust you, I don't really like you, you're a competitor, you're this or you're that. Ha'echad. Now he's going to enumerate what could come from this. Sheyesh kama devarim sheinu motzam batzmo. You know, number one, it's very hard to be honest with ourselves. Mitzad ahavat atzmo, because people love themselves. It doesn't always express itself in a normal way, but self-love, narcissism, exactly. Thank you for the N word there, narcissism. It's a plague. I even read something recently that like narcissism is kind of like the plague of our generation. It's like the whole generation, at least in America or Western society, suffers from narcissism, okay? And now the fact that it may flow from self-hatred, right? There's all kinds of the weird dynamics that narcissism flows from, or terrible fear, insecurity, whatever. That's for Larry to discuss in psychological analysis. But in any case, people have this terrible narcissism, and therefore we can't really look at ourselves accurately. The al kol psha'im techasa ahava, as there's a pasuk in Mishlei that says that that love, meaning self-love, meaning narcissism, covers up all of one's faults. And this particularly applies to when it comes to character faults, like we just really don't see ourselves accurately in the mirror. That this kind of narcissism covers up one's ability to see oneself accurately. You know, if we had an honest relationship with other human beings, we were respected and it was out of love, and if someone could say to us, not manipulating us, not in a condescending way, right? But, Larry, I've been meaning to tell you, you should stop dyeing your beard. It unbefits some of your age. It's okay to be gray. You don't have to use the shoe polish anymore. So
I'm buying it white.
So the fact that if we could, the ability to have somebody else who would awaken us to who we are, to sort of serve as that more accurate mirror, what a gift. But you see, that's impossible unless there's real love and acceptance, because otherwise you just bristle, right? You become defensive, completely rejectionist. Who are you to say something about my beard and blah blah blah, and right? The odzot. Furthermore, not just pointing out somebody else's faults, but how about talking about our own problems, right? I mean, basically, nowadays you pay people good money. I don't know how good it is, but you pay people money nowadays. It's interesting. In Pirkei Avot it says, "Aseh lecha rav," make yourself a rebbe, "Knei lecha chaver," and buy for yourself a friend. I'm afraid nowadays the psychological equivalent of that is like literally. Since no one has a chaver anymore, you gotta purchase it. You got to go to a therapist and pay for it. Knei lecha chaver, buy for yourself a friend. But what the Rebbe Rashab here is saying that if we could assimilate these ideas, we'd be able to get together among us here and share what's going on inside of us, right? And say, look, I'm really struggling with X, okay? And to be able to say it, there's a tremendous benefit. And he's going to explain what that benefit is. When a person articulates it, says it to somebody else, when you say something, it gives it reality.
Is that why when you confess your sins,
you
have the verb?
Checks in the mail, Zev. Exactly. He's going to mention that explicitly in a second. That, in order to change, we have to own our issues. And if we can't, the process of articulating it helps us to own it. It helps us to look at it square in the face and feel how concrete it is, which then gives us motivation. It gives us the will to start to deal with it in a serious way, right? But that only happens if it's real and that articulation is real. Laying in bed at night and thinking about one's struggles, we do that, but it's not enough. To say it helps make it concrete. And once we articulate it to another person that we feel comfortable, we can, because it's love, we feel like we can say it. So that allows us to feel the regret and the resolve to be able to do something about it. And through this, we can then create such a tikkun, such a rectification of ourselves by that first step of being able to share it with another person, make it concrete. Shezeh inyan vidui dvarim. That's the whole basis of vidui. Now, who in this room said this just a moment ago? Thank you. The idea of vidui, of confessing. It's not enough according to halacha if a person wants to change to keep it in one's heart. You have to do vidui. As a matter of fact, the Rambam, when he discusses the mitzvah of tshuva, he says the Torah commands us to do tshuva. And instead of quoting a pasuk which says, and thou shalt do tshuva, there is actually such a pasuk, more or less. So the Rambam quotes the pasuk says, and they shall confess their sins. Because there's really no such thing as transformation unless it is articulated, made substantial, made real. And that's through vidui. As is known, it's a tremendous rectification, tikkun, tremendous therapeutic value for the soul of someone who's struggling. Because when it's articulated, it becomes concrete, in on an internal level. That the person then feels the fullness of the pain and the regret over those errors and struggles that they have in their personality. Okay, so let's pause here, and we'll go on Bezrat Hashem on Tuesday. Boy, that seems like years from now. But don't forget, as a matter of fact, I'm going to draw a little line.
The Catholics,
Thank you so
So
much.
don't forget.
Catholics had it part right.
Yeah, that's true.